How you guys doing? This is Jason with Tuna Tech, and today I got a phone that you probably never heard of. Okay, in the US, we are bombarded by the iPhone. On the Android side, you got Google, Samsung, Sony, OnePlus. You've got multiple companies making phones. But there's one company out there making phones in China. And this phone was released back in July in the Chinese market only. But now it's available globally here in the US. And it's an interesting proposition. This is called the Nubia Z50s Pro. Now, before you ask me what the heck or what the hell is Nubia, Nubia is a Chinese smartphone manufacturer. They used to be a subsidy of ZTE, but some trading and moving around and some investments, and they're now kind of like on their own. They have a gaming division called Red Magic. So you've seen on my channel, I've done a lot of Red Magic phones. And a lot of people compare this to the ZTE Ultra phones, but either way, this is the Nubia Z50s Pro, and it is a camera-centric, interesting looking phone from at least the pictures that I've seen online. As you can tell, it's got like a faux leather look, two-tone with obviously a huge camera ring right here, and it says Z50, and obviously the name brand, Nubia Z50 on the back. It's 8 Gen 2, all these hot words and topics on there. But what's interesting about this is the proposition. Starting at $599, I think it's 12 gig RAM and like 512 of storage, all the way up to the maxed out 16 gigabyte, 1 terabyte of storage. This is kind of in the middle. So some basic information on this. It comes with black, khaki, and silver and white. I believe this is the khaki version. Has the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 2. Comes in 12 or 16 gigs of RAM, and that's LPDDR5X, and you can get it in 256, 512, or 1 terabyte of USF 4.0. And looking at the bottom of this, this is 12 gigabyte, 1 terabyte. So no expandable memory, but with a terabyte, do you really need it? It runs Nubia MyOS 13, which is obviously based on Android 13. And I'll be honest with you guys, a lot of these Chinese companies don't say much about this, but they have not, at least in my research, there is no say on what their software support is, and it's unknown at this point. But battery, 5100 milliamps, and it charges at 80 watts. And I don't know if that's 80 watts here in the US where I'm at. It could be 67, it could be something lower, but it's supposed to be 80 watts. No wireless charging. It's got a 6.8 inch 2800 by 1260 Full HD Plus screen. It's 128 hertz refresh, and it's AMOLED. On the camera front, this is where it gets it's a mixed bag. It's definitely a flagship wannabe, and the price is right, but it's got a 50 megapixel main camera at 35 millimeters. It's got an 8 megapixel 80 millimeter telephoto, and it's got a 50 megapixel ultra wide. So the main and the ultra wide and the telephoto both have OIS, PDAF, all that stuff. The front camera is a 16 megapixel wide, but it's capped at 1080p 30 frames. The other ones can do 4K, I believe up to 120. Don't quote me on that. I know the main camera can. And obviously for sensors, it's got a in-screen fingerprint reader, and it does have USB Type-C 3.1. It does do video out, but from my understanding, it's desktop mirroring only. There's no with Red Magic, you had the console or stamps on decks. Doesn't have any of that stuff. So enough of me blabbering on about it. Let's just kind of get into it. Now this is available globally now, so you can get it in North America, i.e. Canada and the US. I don't know if it'll work on AT&T and T-Mobile. If you're interested in that, I can definitely post some questions in the comments below, and I'll let you know. I do have AT&T and T-Mobile SIM cards at my disposal to see how they work, and this is a slow unboxing here. It's interesting. I was talking about Nubia and how their subsidy ZTE, and now they still work with ZTE, and they're just kind of own the majority of their own, because even on the bottom here it says made in China by the ZTE Corporation. So interesting little nugget of information there. But I'm gonna put the phone off to the side, and it feels like a pretty big thick phone. So the phone's on top, you open it up and you can see you got some ejection and some pamphlets and books. Let's see what we got in here. And typical for your Chinese phones, you get stuff that's I can't read, and it comes with this interesting case. Now it's kind of hard, but if you can see, it's got the silver outlining around the sides. It protects the corners only, and then it's got a little lanyard hole right there. But nice that they include it. And again, I always tell people this stuff, when you get these lesser known brands here in the US, a lot of times they will include a case because they know they're hard to come by here. So it's nice to have the protection in the box, like most companies do not. And there's your SIM ejection, which most phones have unless you have an iPhone as eSIM only. And then in here is your charger. And I want to see what this says on it. Does it say? Let's just tear this packaging off here. Doesn't say anything on the outside. I mean, looking at this, we'll test it out and see if it's 80 watts, but it does come with a brick. And then I'm going to assume this one right here is your cables, or cable, and you get a red charging cable. So like typical, these phones come with everything you need. You come with a case, the cable, and the charger. It's interesting how different phone companies do different things, and how some companies offer just the bare minimums, i.e. Samsung, Google, and iPhone, but charge a premium price. But these lesser known companies sell a almost flagship phone for half the price or hundreds less, and they offer more value when it comes to the extras. So, all right. So you can see it's the khaki version. So I'm going to go ahead and try to get this unwrapped. All right, so here you go. You got all screen on the front. There is a pre-installed screen protector, and you have your center mounted selfie camera. On the bottom, you got your SIM tray, speaker, and a USB Type-C. Let me get this sticker off here. On the side, you just have plain with some antenna lines. I'm going to assume another speaker, microphone, and an IR blaster, which again, in the US, we don't see much about. You got your volume up and down, red power button, and then I'm going to guess a action button or a programmable button. On the back, you have this. It's not leather at all. It's plastic, but it looks like it's the khaki, but it kind of looks like a faux leather. And obviously, it's got the camera-centric look. So when you're holding it like this, it looks like a camera, not a phone. You have Nubia there. We'll power it up, see if it's got any juice. Like I said, guys, this is now available on Amazon starting at $5.99. I think all the way up to $7.99. I think this version's around $6.49 or $6.79. Pretty decent for the specs, but the couple questions you want to ask yourself before buying something like this is, will it support your carrier? Usually T-Mobile is the best bet for these phones, but sometimes AT&T, but Verizon are kind of out. Any of those MVNOs of T-Mobile, Mint, Tello, maybe some MVNOs of AT&T will work. But the other thing is software updates. I mean, will this be supported for a year, 2 years, 6 months? Will they get security updates and OS updates? I don't know. It comes out of the box with Android 13, and Android 14 was just released, so it'll be interesting to see if Nubia, they're a pretty large company, but will they support these phones? So this has been a quick, very quick look at the Nubia Z70 or Z50s Pro. I know in China there was an ultra version of this too, and there's obviously some differences, but here in the US this is what they offer, and you can see right there, English, United States. If you want to know more about this phone, if you want some camera samples, if you want a review, leave me a comment below. But this has been a quick look and unboxing of the Nubia Z50 Z50s Pro. Thanks for watching, guys.